Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to another Heroes of the Grid Ranger video. I know it's a little late, but holidays were kind of hectic, so I didn't have a lot of time to play and record stuff. But I'm going to be covering the team that I used in my most recent game that I actually did get a chance to play with recently. And I'm going to start with Rocky DeSantos, the second Mighty Morphin Red Ranger. Rocky's deck consists of the standard shield layout of 3 shield cards, 4 2-shield cards, and 3 1-shield cards. Beginning with his character card, it is Bravery. Its ability says, when you reveal a card for defense, if that card would be placed on the bottom of your deck, you may add it to your hand instead. So if the enemy is going to deal 2 damage to you, you flip over the card from your deck and it has 3 shields. Instead of putting it on the bottom of your deck as you normally would, you can add it to your hand. Card to do this with, it would be his Power Sword. Kind of spoiler to one of the cards in his deck, but he does have the Power Sword in his combat deck. So if you are able to add that to your hand, not only does it take the damage for you, because I should emphasize that the card still takes the damage, the one that you reveal, even though it goes to your hand, it still takes all the damage. So let's look up the damage, then you can add it to your hand as long as it was going to go to the bottom of your deck in the first place. And now you have access to your power weapon. Alright, moving on to his actual combat deck. First, we'll start with Square Up. It's a 0-cost reaction card with 2 shields for defense. Its ability says, play this card at the end of any turn in battle. If you suffer damage during this turn, gain 1 energy and place this card on top of your deck. Notice it says any turn. It doesn't say any ranger turn or any enemy turn, so whether you're taking damage as you normally would when an enemy attacks, or if you happen to take damage somehow through other character abilities or combat cards, and actually Rocky has one coming up that you'll see, can take advantage of this. You get to gain an energy, and this card goes back on top of your deck, so you build some energy for the team. This card goes back on top of your deck to so that you can maybe take the next attack from a villain. So it's a very versatile card. It helps kind of balance out Rocky's ability, his bravery, in the sense that bravery, you get the card to your hand, but your deck is still thinner. You still have less cards in your deck, so you're closer to being defeated. But Square Up, if you took the damage, used bravery to add, let's say, your Power Sword back to your hand, now you can use Square Up to gain an energy, and then you'll put it back on top of your deck. Sure, it's not a 3-shield card like Power Sword was, but it's still 2 shields, so it can. There's less. If nothing else, this will probably be the only card that gets discarded in the next attack, especially if it's by a foot soldier. I actually did not get to use it in my last playthrough in terms of playing it from my hand, but it did come in handy actually because I knew I had it in my deck, so that helped me kind of plan a certain strategy out when I was fighting the boss. I'll get to that when I cover the Ranger team themselves. But the next card in Rocky's deck is going to be Risky Moves. It's a 1-cost maneuver card with 2 shields for defense. Its ability says, suffer up to 3 damage. Another ranger may immediately play 1 card. If it is an attack, add a number of dice to that attack equal to the amount of damage you suffered. Now, at first glance, this card might seem, okay, why would you want to ever do damage to yourself? But Rocky's whole point of him is kind of to take damage. So let's say, now it says up to 3 damage, so you don't have to take 3 damage. You could take only 1 damage or 2 damage. So let's say you know the top card of your deck is a 3 shield. Let's say it's your Power Sword. You're going to say, I'm going to take 2 damage. You'll flip the top card of your deck to take the damage, but since it's a Power Sword, you can either use Bravery to add it to your hand, or you can just put it back on the bottom of your deck if you want. If you want to just keep it there, so that way you have a better defense against a future attack. Then you have to choose another ranger to play 1 card. It doesn't have to be an attack card, just to clarify that. But there's really no reason why you wouldn't want to play an attack card. This outside of very specific scenarios, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it's most likely going to be 99% of the time you're going to choose the ranger's going to play an attack card, and you get to add those 2 dice because you took 2 damage. 2 dice to any attack. It's almost like another Tyrannosaurus, except you have to pay an energy to do it. So yeah, it's a very good card. I used it only once in my game because I only drew it once, but yeah, it really helped me a lot actually, because again, it was basically just another Tyrannosaurus I could use. Next card in Rocky's deck is going to be Haymaker. It's a 1-cost, 1-die attack with 3 shields for defense. Its ability says, add 1 die to this attack for each shield on the top card of your discard pile. Now you might be thinking, 1 energy for 1 die is very much below the average. And it is. It's a weak card. If you would definitely need to have cards in your discard pile in order to make use of this. But say you have another Haymaker that was just discarded somehow. So it's the top card of your discard pile. you play this Haymaker for 1 energy. So you get 1 die just for the standard, as part of the attack, and then you get 3 extra dice because this Haymaker, the second copy of Haymaker is on the top of your discard pile, so now you're rolling 4 dice for 1 energy. And I really liked Haymaker. I was able to use it in combination with another one of the Rangers on this team, and I'll get to that again when I cover the Ranger team. It was very, very helpful. That really saved my bacon, or just made things a lot easier at least. But next will be his Rocky's Sturdy Blow. It's a 0 cost, 1 die, plus 1 damage attack with 1 shield for defense. And it has a star ability. Its star ability says when this card is revealed for defense, it gains plus 1 shield. In essence, Rocky, he doesn't have any 1 shield cards in his deck whenever he's defending. Well, actually, he has one. Never mind, I'll get to that next. But he almost has it. This card pretty much makes it so Sturdy Blow's 2 shield when it's in his deck. If he's going to take damage, you almost never have to worry about getting a 1 shield defense card because this card becomes a 2 shield defense, and you can even add shield values to it with other cards if you're able to. It's only 1 die and 1 guaranteed damage, but that's still really good. 1 guaranteed damage is great. It's kind of like counter jab in that sense. And if you happen to get lucky and roll a critical hit, you're doing 3 damage with 1 die, for 0 cost. Just to verify, I'm pretty sure people know this, but you can't split the die roll result with guaranteed 1 damage. So you can't use if you roll a 1 hit on the die, you can't put that onto one target and then the guaranteed damage onto another target. They both have to go to the same target. This card was actually really good. It was good at doing some chip damage to the foot soldiers that I was facing. Again, I'll get more into detail as to how Sturdy Blow really helped in my game once I cover the team as a whole. Next card on Rocky's combat deck list is Blade Blaster. It's an X cost special attack card with 1 shield for defense. This attack deals an amount of damage equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. You may divide this damage among any number of targets. It's Blade Blaster. All the Mighty Morphin Rangers have them, as well as the Hyperforce Rangers, so I won't really talk about it here. Very, very good card, actually. I did use the Blade Blaster. Not Rocky's, I don't think. I might have used Rocky's, but I used Blade Blaster a couple times, so it's still a really good card. I just won't dive into details since I've talked about it a lot already. And finally, the last card, the one I've been talking about this whole time as examples, is the Power Sword. It's a 3 cost, 5 dice attack with 3 shields for defense. Its ability says the next time any ranger performs an attack during this battle, add 2 dice to that attack. I actually did use the Power Sword in my last game with Rocky, so it helped a lot. I don't think my dice roll was great. I think it was kind of average. I think I only did 4 damage. Still, added 2 dice to the next attack. Just a fantastic card, and again, the 3 shields means it can take a lot of damage. You can use it in combination with risky moves if you know it's the top card of your deck. Or let's say after you play the Power Sword, it goes to discard pile. Next turn you play Haymaker, as I mentioned earlier. Now that card's rolling 4 dice instead of just 1. So Power Sword is just a fantastic card. Next I'll talk about the Zords Rocky can use. Like most Mighty Morphin Rangers, he can use multiples. The first is going to be the Tyrannosaurus. Exhaust this card before a Ranger performs an attack to add 2 dice to that attack. I'm not going to touch too much on these Zords since I kind of covered them in Jason's video already, but I might give maybe an example or two how it works with Rocky's strategy a little. The Tyrannosaurus. Now, if you use that in conjunction with risky moves, again, the example I gave, you take only 2 damage, you have a 3 shield card that goes back to the bottom of your deck, and then you use Tyrannosaurus, you're now rolling an extra. The Rangers who's doing the second attack, who's playing the second card, is now rolling 4 extra dice for that attack. Tyrannosaurus is always a good card to have. The second card, and the one I used when I played, was the Red Dragon Thunder Zord, the first Zord that Rocky actually piloted in the series. Its ability says, exhaust this card when any ranger performs an attack. Add 1 die to that attack. Any ranger may discard 1 card to add 2 more dice to that attack. I only used the Red Dragon Thunder Zord once, and that's only because I got him kind of late in the game, and I didn't really need to use him really. For the most part, I was actually rolling pretty good. But it can be better than the Tyrannosaurus, but at the cost of a ranger having to discard a card in order to get the most out of it. Any amount of extra dice are good when playing this game because you're always at the risk of rolling nothing but blanks. So more dice means less likely chance that's going to happen. Next is going to be the Red Ape Ninja Sword. Its ability says, exhaust this card at the start of any turn in battle. Choose a card name. All cards with that name have a shield value of 3 shield until the end of this turn. So this actually works great with Rocky's risky moves. Let's say you have your Blade Blaster, in your deck still, so, and you know it's going to be the next card you draw. You declare Blade Blaster, and now if it's going to be revealed for defense, now it becomes a 3 shield card, and it can most likely soak up an entire Foot Soldier hit. Monster card, maybe some monster cards do low damage, so I might be able to take one of those. But if nothing else, that just means you're going to be discarding less cards from your deck for attacks, even against bosses. Finally, the last card he can pilot is the Red Shogun Zord. Its ability says exhaust this card when any ranger places a card on the bottom of their deck after revealing it for defense. Roll 2 dice and deal that much damage to an enemy card of your choice. Again, you can use this in combination with risky moves. You declare, say I'm going to take 2 damage, but you know you have a 3 shield on top of your deck, your power sword, you flip it over, and you don't want to use bravery, you just want to put it at the bottom of your deck. Now since it went to the bottom of the deck, you can use the Red Shogun Zord, roll 2 dice and deal that much damage to an enemy card of your choice. This is not an attack, so you can choose any enemy card on the field. It doesn't matter if it's being guarded or not. Cards that add dice to attacks, you won't be able to modify them with those, but there are other cards that allow you to add dice to any dice roll. If you have cards like that in your hand, or if other rangers do, you can add dice through those effects, but still a really good card, especially if you use it on an enemy turn, because now you're getting pretty much an extra attack, kind of, even though it's not technically an attack. Potentially doing extra damage, and if you get super lucky, you'll roll a double critical, so you're going to deal 4 damage to an enemy card of your choice. And next, I'm going to break down Rocky's combat deck. More specifically, he has 2 copies of Haymaker, 2 copies of Square Up, 2 copies of Risky Moves, 2 copies of Sturdy Blow, 1 copy of Blade Blaster, and 1 copy of Power Sword. And as you can tell, Rocky's whole strategy revolves more so around taking damage and kind of manipulating the cards in his decks to make the most of that. At first, I didn't really think too much of Rocky's character card. I mean, his character ability, I guess. Oh, just so you know, Rocky, his character card actually comes in both the Kickstarter exclusive box and the Legendary Rangers Forever Rangers pack. So you can get his character card in both. His combat deck only comes in the Forever Rangers pack. Now, technically, Rocky can use the combat deck he came with in the Forever Rangers pack, or he can use the combat deck that Jason got in the base game of Heroes of the Grid. He can use either or he can mix and match between the 2 decks. There's a whole process to do that, but I won't get into that whole system. Being able to, have different cards, kind of build your own deck is always pretty fun. Once they give us the ability to make our own cards, I might fiddle around with that, give some old Rangers some newer cards. Not just old Rangers, but just, any Ranger that I think might be a little needing a little more variety in their strategy or something like that. I don't know. I have to see what they give us in the Kickstarter. Hopefully they give us as much info as possible to make our own stuff, because I'd really love to keep this game going somehow, even if it's in an unofficial manner, because I'm not a game maker, so I'm not really all that great in terms of balancing or anything like that, but it'd be fun if this could be a stepping stone for me to eventually just somehow make my own game, but just fiddling around with stuff like this, see how things work, probabilities and whatnot. But anyway, enough of that. That is Rocky. His character card actually does match his playstyle, because he's going to be taking damage for his team. He actually was very helpful. I'll just say that right now. He was very helpful in my game. And I'll tell you more so what I did with him when I get to the whole team. But in the meantime, head on over to OnceRanger.com to check out the full card database, and I'll have affiliate links provided below. Thank you.